Y'all should go try blackberry ginger ale. Good shit. Today's video is going to be more of a personal one that anyone who knows me knows that I really like film. I like criticizing film. I like praising it. I like all that. And so, naturally, when someone misunderstands and misrepresents film in a way that I feel is harmful, that irritates me. Film is subjective. Whether or not something is good or bad depends almost entirely on who you ask. One person may think a movie is great, another person may think it's terrible. It's just depending on who it is you're asking the question to. And so, naturally, with film being so subjective, it's a very interesting choice to make someone's assessment of their knowledge on it a 34-question multiple choice test. This is exactly what my teacher for film criticism did. We got a 34-question multiple choice test on different things on film. I only got a 24 out of 34 on this because, again, subjectiveness. And before I go into any details, I do want to clarify something. This is not me bitching and moaning about the score that I got on the final. Honestly, I couldn't care less. I got A's all year throughout the school year, and so my score on the final won't affect my overall grade. I just want to talk about what was done wrong. Additionally, this is not in any way a takedown of my film criticism teacher. He's a very nice person. He showed me some great movies over the course of this year that I will never forget, and they are films that I otherwise probably would not have seen if I had not taken his class. However, while I liked the class in general, the final, his way of assessing our cumulative knowledge of film as a subject, was poor at best and harmful at worst. As I stated, I got a 24 out of 34 on this quiz, which, for people who are unaware, is a 70.6%. And so what I'm going to be doing in this video is going through each one of the 10 questions that was marked wrong on my test and doing a couple things. Saying how I answered it, what the correct answer was, why the question either did or did not work on any level, and if not, what could have been done to fix it. The first question I got wrong was number 3, and it reads, what role does lighting play in filmmaking? There's lots of different ways you can answer this. The option I chose was, it helps to illuminate the set. In the most literal sense, this is what lighting does. Now, the correct answer, apparently, was it creates mood or atmosphere. This is true. Lighting illuminates the set and creates mood and or atmosphere. Which it does more depends entirely on what the light fixtures are and what they're being used for at that current point in time. Plus, neither of these things are mutually exclusive. It can illuminate the set and create mood or atmosphere. And so it's very easy to fix this question. You could either, 1, rephrase it so that it says, what is the role of lighting in filmmaking when referring to the context of the scene? Or, more simply, choose all that apply, because then you could pick both. The second question I got wrong was number 6, where it says, what is a shot in filmmaking? My answer was a single uninterrupted take, which is true. Whenever someone takes a shot, when they are doing a shot for a scene, it runs through and then cuts, and then it gets to another shot. It's a completely accurate description. The correct answer was the framing of a particular subject or action, which is also true. You do the shot, and within that shot, certain things are happening. That is true. Which begs the question, why the fuck is one of these right and one of them wrong? I couldn't tell you. This one is even more perplexing than the first, because the first one, you can make the argument that one might be more right than the other, but in this case, they are both equally correct. Both of these things happen in every single shot, and yet one answer is right and one of them is wrong. It makes absolutely no sense. This question could be very easily fixed, again, by simply putting choose all that apply. You couldn't really rephrase the question because it's vague at best, and so just make it all that apply, and then you're good. The third one I got wrong was what role do props play in mise-en-scene? And for those of you who are unaware, mise-en-scene is obviously French, and it refers to everything within a scene. The props, the staging, the actors, everything. It refers to everything that's happening within a single frame. The answer I picked for this was they add visual effects to the scene. And the correct answer was they establish the setting of the scene. This one I don't particularly have an issue with because while it is true that they do add visual effects to some extent, saying they establish the setting of the scene is a much better answer, and so I'll give him credit for this one. The fourth one I got wrong was, what is the purpose that setting plays in filmmaking? This is number 11. The four options were to establish the time period of the film, to provide backdrop for the action, or to convey mood and atmosphere for the scene. And the fourth option was all of the above. This is the one I chose because setting physically is the time period of the film. That is one of the aspects of setting. Backdrop for the action. It obviously provides backdrop for the action because it establishes what is the time period is, what's happening, and what's going to happen based on what we know about these characters and their actions. So it does do that as well. And then convey mood or atmosphere to the scene. It absolutely conveys mood or atmosphere to the scene. The setting completely changes what the mood or atmosphere is. The mood and atmosphere of a bustling city in the 1930s is completely different from the bubonic plague. So, in a nutshell, it does all these things, and yet he said the correct answer was to provide backdrop for the action, which of course it does, but that is not the only thing it does. It does the other things that we mentioned as well. So this one is really perplexing to me because he had the right answer in the question and ignored it. I don't understand. The only way he could have fixed this was by changing what the correct answer was and just putting it as being all of the above. The fifth one that was marked incorrect is very perplexing. It's number 12. And it says, what does costume refer to in mise-en-scene? And I chose the clothing worn by the characters. This is physically true. That is what a costume is. And I don't know why this wasn't the right answer, because the correct answer was the physical setting of the scene. And the reason why this one's so perplexing is because, in this case, he's just fucking wrong. It is the clothing worn by the characters. That is, like, almost the exact definition of a costume. And so the fact that he didn't make this the answer, I don't know what he was thinking. And like I said, with the other one, the only way he could have changed this to make it work was if he changed the right answer, because he's just wrong in this question. Now we gotta skip ahead a bit. I didn't get a sixth one wrong until question 17, where it says, which camera angle looks down on the subject from above? And I said a high angle shot, and the correct answer was bird's eye view. Again, like with the other ones, both do this, so I don't know why there was one correct answer. A high angle shot does that, and a bird's eye view shot also does that, and so it doesn't really work. I'm thinking he sort of just forgot what a high angle shot is in this, because that's the only way this is explicable. Very easily could have been fixed. Choose all that apply. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta do to make this question work. Sure, you could change the phrasing of it, but that wouldn't be necessary. Question 19 is the next one that I got marked wrong for, and is, what is the purpose of an establishing shot? This one's a little weird because none of these answers are fully correct. That the options were to provide context for the scene, to introduce a new character, to establish the tone of the film, or all of the above. I picked all of the above, even though that's not fully what I believe, because it does provide context for the scene, and it does establish tone of the film, but it does not usually introduce a new character. And so I wanted to say that the two in between were the ones that were correct, and that middle one wasn't, but that wasn't an option, so I'm like, alright, fine, I'll just choose all that apply. Unfortunately, though, I learned that the only thing an establishing shot does is provide context for the scene. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything else, at least not according to my film criticism teacher anyway. Nothing else you need to worry about what establishing shots do. They just provide context for the scene. They don't do anything else. And let's move on. I don't know what was going through his head in this particular one. There's very obviously two correct answers in this. He could have corrected this mistake simply by making the last option not all that above and just making it instead the two listed that I said were correct, and then it would be fixed. I also got the very next question wrong, which is the 8th one, number 20, but the 8th question that I got incorrect. And it is, what is the effect of using a wide-angle lens in cinematography? We didn't learn a whole lot about this thing, so I'm not sure why it's on the test. This is the one question that I've seen so far that I'm not particularly knowledgeable on. I picked it compresses the depth of the field, and the correct answer was it exaggerates the distance between objects. I don't know whether or not this is right, because I'm not particularly knowledgeable on this exact thing, and so I won't criticize his correct answer, because this is not entirely sure what this thing is that he's referring to, and so I won't criticize him for it. Now we need to skip all the way down to 28 to find the 9th question that was marked incorrect, which is, what is the purpose of a storyboard in filmmaking? And the options were to create a visual plan for the film, to outline the script, and to direct the actors. I picked all that above, and I'm not really sure why, because his correct answer in this case just was the correct answer. It doesn't outline the script, and it doesn't direct the actors, which means the only thing it does is create a visual plan, and that is what the correct answer was marked as. And I checked all that above for some reason. I'm not exactly sure what I was thinking here. Alright, well, whatever. Let's move on to the 10th and final question, which is 31. What is the purpose of editing in filmmaking? And the options were to assemble footage in a coherent narrative, to add visual effects to the scene, to direct actors, and all of the above. That is the option I picked. And in this one, too, it's a little weird, because it does assemble footage into a coherent narrative, and it does add visual effects for the scene. Undeniably so. That's what CGI is. But it doesn't direct actors. Unfortunately, again, clicking the top two answers and not the third one was not an option here. Apparently, it only assembles footage into a coherent narrative. And it doesn't do the other thing that I said was right. I'm thinking he just didn't see it like this, but it definitely does both. And just because I didn't pick the correct answer doesn't mean he did either. So this one's not very good either. Okay, so we just went through all 10 things that I got wrong on this test. And of the 10 that were marked wrong, I feel only 3 of them were justified. I probably should have gotten a 31 out of 34 on this, which would have been admittedly a much better grade. And like I said in the beginning, this is by no means a takedown of my film criticism teacher. Neither is it whining about my score. It doesn't matter what I got on this. I think it's just important to point out these things and point out that film is subjective in a lot of ways. And just because he feels that these were the correct answers doesn't mean someone else does. Most pieces of media are objective. Most classes in school are objective, but film criticism isn't. And saying that is something he has been preaching for a very long time, and the fact that he doesn't understand that in his final, it really perplexes me. So, you know, whatever. I was skimmering, I don't think that's a word, but I was working hastily to get this video out because I needed my laptop for school to assemble all the footage, and we turn in laptops tomorrow because tomorrow's the last day of school, and so it's not very often that I release videos during the week, but because I have to turn this in, I had to. And so, you know, it is what it is. Also, guys, for the few people that will probably be ending up watching this. Please tell me if you liked this style of video, if I should try and do other things similar to this in the future, or if it was really boring and don't. I don't think this video is going to get a whole lot of views because it's not particularly interesting, but for those of you who do watch it, please tell me what you think. And, same as always, consider liking and subscribing if you enjoy, and I'll see you all in the next one. Have a great day, guys.